Hey everyone, and welcome to another fascinating explainer. Today, we're taking on a topic that affects literally millions of people, but is, well, pretty rarely talked about openly. We're talking about chronic bowel issues. Now, we are not going to treat this like some sort of embarrassing secret. Absolutely not. Instead, we're looking at this through the lens of science and biomechanics. We're going to treat the human digestive system like what it really is, a fascinating mechanical and physiological puzzle. And the best part? It's a puzzle we can actually solve. From hidden muscle miscommunications all the way to cutting-edge ingestible technology, the mechanics of digestion are just incredible, and understanding them can truly change lives. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover the chronic constipation problem, anismus, training the pelvic floor, a novel vibrating capsule, the brain-gut rhythm, and finally, redefining bowel health. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the chronic constipation problem. Okay, let's dive into this. Because to truly understand the solutions, we first have to grasp the sheer scale of the problem. Gastrointestinal disorders, they aren't just minor inconveniences. They're a massive global health challenge. I mean, get this. A staggering 47% of constipated patients are completely dissatisfied with their current treatments. Nearly half. That means almost half of all people seeking help find that standard care, things like over-the-counter laxatives or basic dietary changes, they just aren't working for them. That is a massive gap in standard medical care, and it leaves patients dealing with physical discomfort, psychological distress, and a seriously decreased quality of life. And when you zoom out to look at the global prevalence, you realize just how many human beings that 47% actually represents. Up to 20% of the population, literally a fifth of the world, suffers from chronic constipation, particularly in Western countries. So this isn't just a niche issue. It is a widespread mechanical failure of the body's natural systems. It really hooks you into asking, well, when standard laxatives fail, what else can medical science actually do? How do we fix a system that is fundamentally stalled out? That brings us to Section 2, Anismus, when muscles forget. To answer how we fix this, we have to look past general digestive sluggishness and start looking at specific, hidden mechanical culprits down in the pelvic floor. There's a condition known medically as anismus or dyssynergic defecation. Now, don't let the complex medical jargon intimidate you. In simple terms, anismus is just the failure of the pelvic floor muscles to relax normally when a person tries to go to the bathroom. You can kind of think of it as the body essentially forgetting how to push correctly. So instead of the muscles working together in harmony to increase abdominal pressure and lower pelvic pressure, they fight against each other. And this can be caused by physical trauma, neurological disturbances, or even deeply ingrained behavioral responses to stress. Mechanically, here is exactly what's happening. Under normal conditions, a muscle called the puborectalis relaxes, and that allows the anorectal angle to straighten out, creating a clear path. But with anismus, you get a paradoxical contraction. Basically, the muscle flexes when it should relax. Because of that, the anorectal angle becomes more acute. Think of it exactly like a kinked garden hose. The water can't flow because the hose is bent way too sharply. Anismus creates a physical, mechanical obstruction out of your own muscle tissue. So how do we fix that? Section 3, training the pelvic floor. Right, so if the problem is a muscle flexing when it shouldn't, what's the solution? Well, we move to physical interventions. Let's look at direct, low-tech mechanical fixes for these muscle miscommunications, like physical therapy and biofeedback. The cool thing is you can actually train these muscles to communicate properly again. Here's a specific sequence for pelvic floor contraction that you can literally do at home right now. First, lie on your back with your knees bent and feet flat on the floor. Second, contract your anal muscles, kind of like you're trying to stop yourself from passing gas, and tilt your hips up slightly. Third, hold that contraction for 5 seconds and then completely relax for 10 seconds. Fourth, using only about half your strength, do a rapid squeeze and relax sequence. And finally, just repeat this whole sequence 2 to 4 times a day. Doing this builds strength for sure, but more importantly, it rebuilds the brain's voluntary control over relaxing that sphincter. It unkinks the hose. But hey, a quick word of caution here. While targeted pelvic floor exercise is fantastic, not all exercise is your friend when you have pelvic floor dysfunction or hemorrhoids. You really need to avoid high-impact activities that put excessive downward pressure on your abdomen and anal area. We're talking about sit-ups, heavy squats, weightlifting, cycling, horseback riding, and rowing. If you're struggling with these issues, those specific activities can actually trigger or severely worsen your symptoms by forcing blood and pressure right into the problem zone. All right, let's shift gears. Section 4, a novel vibrating capsule. Now, let's see how this goes from low-tech physical therapy to high-tech, futuristic medical innovations. What happens when physical therapy just isn't enough, or when the constipation originates higher up in the colon? Enter the vibrating capsule. Yes, you heard me right, a vibrating robot pill. It sounds a bit like science fiction, but this is where the science gets incredibly cool. We're talking about a miniaturized, swallowable device. Before you swallow it, a base unit sends an electromagnetic signal to activate the capsule, programming it with a specific code. That code dictates the exact duration and timing of internal vibrations. So as it travels down into your digestive tract, it begins to vibrate directly against the walls of the intestines. It provides this direct, local, mechanical stimulation to basically wake up a sluggish colon. Now you might be wondering, does it actually work? Well, when they tested patients suffering from chronic, unexplained constipation, the results were honestly remarkable. Compared to a placebo group, the vibrating capsule nearly doubled complete spontaneous bowel movements per week. It successfully stimulated the colon into action, moving things along purely through mechanical vibration. No need for pharmaceutical laxatives. Naturally, swallowing a vibrating robot pill sounds, a bit intimidating, but the safety profile is actually very strong. The most common side effects are just mild and transient abdominal discomfort, or simply the unusual sensation of feeling a mild vibration inside your stomach. The frequency of these side effects is quite low, and most importantly, the rate of severe adverse events is exactly zero. It's generally very well tolerated by patients. So why does it work? Section 5, the brain-gut rhythm. Okay, so we know it works, and we know it's safe, but why does a vibrating pill make the colon work better? To figure that out, we have to look at the underlying science and this incredible biological network known as the brain-gut rhythm. Researchers actually hooked patients up to EEG monitors for the brain, and EGG monitors, which measure the electrical activity of the stomach muscles, to track the connection while the capsule was vibrating. And they found something absolutely amazing, which led to this quote from the literature: "Minimally invasive mechanosensory gastrointestinal stimulation alters gut feeling perception reliably and evokes brain responses." Let that sink in for a second. Mechanical vibration in your stomach literally alters your brain activity. The nervous system in your gut feels the vibration, sends neural signals straight up to the brain, which then fires signals back down to coordinate digestion. Because of this, the crucial point is that timing is absolutely everything. The capsule doesn't just vibrate randomly. Because it was programmed before you swallowed it, the vibrations are perfectly timed to augment your body's natural circadian rhythm. It acts as a pacemaker for the gut. You see, humans naturally have peaks in bowel activity when we wake up in the morning and right after we eat meals. The capsule triggers its vibrations during these exact windows, effectively hacking the circadian rhythm to enhance the body's normal physiological reflexes. It reminds a sluggish digestive system what it's supposed to be doing and exactly when it's supposed to do it. Which brings us to our final part today. Section 6, redefining bowel health. We've covered a lot of ground today, right? From the basic mechanics of our muscles to the futuristic hacking of our circadian rhythms. Now it's time to bring all these concepts together and really redefine how we approach bowel health. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final, highly actionable tip that perfectly bridges the gap between anatomy and your everyday life. Remember that kinked garden hose analogy from earlier? Well, if you want to naturally flatten that anorectal angle and dramatically ease the effort of evacuation, just change your posture. Adopt a squatting position or simply use a low footstool to elevate your knees when you sit on the toilet. This simple mechanical adjustment relaxes the puborectalis muscle naturally, taking the strain right off your pelvic floor. We've seen today that something as simple as mechanical vibration can travel through the gut's nervous system, light up the brain, and restore a broken biological rhythm. And honestly, it leaves us with a truly provocative thought to end on. As we continue to map the intricate wiring of the brain-gut connection, what other bodily rhythms might we soon be able to hack with internal technology? If a vibrating capsule can cure chronic constipation by syncing with our circadian clock, the future of medicine might just be a matter of finding the right rhythm. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.